That's right, folks, it's slices. It'll toast your toast. It'll heat your engine block in sub-zero temperature. And watch this. It even acts as a dog whistle. What do you think about that? Wow! It even holds the reed on a mouthpiece. That's a familiar story, huh? I'm sure we've all been subjected to all kinds of outlandish claims about how great someone's ligature is, how it'll solve all your problems, both personal and scientific. Well, how do we cut through all that stuff, all that subjectivity, and get right at the bare bones and find out at least minimally what a good ligature ought to offer us? Well, we do it by setting reasonable standards and doing a lot of clear thinking about it. So here's my short list for, say, objective characteristics that a good ligature should have, whatever else it might have subjectively that appeals to me. First of all, the ligature should be flexible so it conforms to the contour of every reed. We know those reeds are not all symmetrical in terms of their radius, and metal ligatures just won't conform to all reeds. They'll touch different reeds at different points on the bark, and consequently push the reed off one way or another, and it'll make it difficult to get good secure placement of the reed using inflexible metal ligatures. The other thing is I think the ligature should be durable. Now, durability has a number of aspects, and one of them has to do actually with the body of the ligature itself, and that means you should be able to step on it, you should be able to drop it, you should be able to have all kinds of accidents with the ligature and have it work fine and go right out on the stage and perform. So because of that, I always recommend a very flexible ligature, one that you can bend up in your hands. So that's one of the characteristics of durability. The other thing is that I think the screw mechanism needs to be made out of high quality metal and not plastic. Plastics will strip, and that's a big problem. In terms of the practical considerations beyond that, I think that the screw mechanism should not only be made of metal and high quality metal, I think it should also be, the screw mechanism itself should be quite a long screw mechanism. Now I see a lot of ligatures, especially two screw ligatures, where the second screw is missing. So there's only one screw in there anyway. And that's not very cool. Very easy to lose those screws because they're so short, and you unscrew them, they drop out, and then they're gone forever. No one knows what happened to them. So the screw mechanism itself should be quite long, should be quite difficult to completely unscrew the mechanism. Besides being a long screw that would be hard to lose, I think the tightening agent should be a singular agent. In other words, you take one screw, one tightening agent, and it puts an even pressure and an even squeeze over the entire reed. I find that if you have two screws, especially with young players, they tend to be kind of careless about how they put the reeds on, how they put ligatures on in the first place, and they'll almost always mistighten those things. So all those things I find wrapped up and in one single package of a brand of ligature I've used for years. Now, there are others that followed this, but this was the original idea, and so I started using the ligature back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and this has been great. It's been really great, and it meets all those criteria, plus it satisfies my own subjective preferences for a darker sound and a sound that tends to damp highs. And that ligature is the Ridenour ligature. Like I said, there are others on the market, but the Ridenour, I think, it combines all the good features and lacks nothing that some of the other ligatures lack. And it also has one feature that I think is probably the most important single feature on the ligature that I really require a lot because I switch a lot of clarinets out and testing them. And that is that the reed stays fixed well on the mouthpiece. When you pull the mouthpiece out of the clarinet, that mouthpiece and reed and ligature combination stay rock solid. They don't slide around. And Even other flexible ligatures I found have the singular problem of just sliding right off in your hands when you're pulling them off of a clarinet. This can be a disaster if you're playing and you're switching from an A to a B flat or a B flat to a C clarinet or whatever. So you end up, instead of being able to play your solo, you end up sitting there staring at the conductor with a reed and ligature in your hands. You don't want to do that. So that's the final characteristic that I think is really important. And put all those things together, I would say those practical considerations really make the Ridenour an extremely attractive ligature, besides the fact that it's not expensive. There is, however, a problem with the Ridenour ligature, and that is the cap. And we're going to talk about that next. So here's the cap that goes on the Ridenour, standard Ridenour ligature. And you know, overall it's a pretty good cap. It fits well, and it's made out of plastic, so it's not going to damage your mouthpiece, unlike a metal cap. You know, metal's preferable, say for instance in the screws that we just talked about, but it's not really preferable when it comes to a cap or something like that, because it's so easy to damage mouthpieces and burr them up at the tip, and then they don't play at all. They don't play at all. So anyway, that's pretty good. But you know, the ligature, or I'm sorry, the cap is supposed to do something more than just protect the mouthpiece. And at least in my estimation, it's supposed to keep the reed wet, keep the reed in performance condition, so to speak, while you're not playing. So you're sitting in band or you're sitting in orchestra, and you put the cap, and you've got this big slit here. And the reed dries out much faster than if the cap really sealed the mouthpiece off properly. So what to do? Well, right there's what I did with my cap. I took the cap, I put it on the mouthpiece, and that spreads that little bitty slit that goes up there somewhat, and spreads it out. And then I put a piece of paper over it. I think I may have glued the paper over the slit, and then I wrapped tape around the whole thing. So now when I put the cap on, it completely seals the mouthpiece and the reed, rather than just protecting it. And that solves that problem. One of the nice things about this, I don't know about you, but I misplace stuff all the time. And one of the best ways to find things is to give them a lot of color. I've got blue caps and I've got orange caps, and I really seem to play better with the red caps for some reason or another. Well, that's the story about ligatures, at least from my perspective, and I hope you find it helpful in setting your own criterias and making your own decisions about which ligature you think is going to be best for you overall. And before we adjourn here, I want to thank you all for subscribing. We've got a lot of good subscribers now. We've got over 400 subscribers, I think about 425 or something like that. And that is a lot of clarinerds all gathered in together here. So anyway, thank you very much. And these thanks come from the arch clarinerd, as you all know. And contact your friends, get them to subscribe, and I'm especially solicitous of your ideas about what we should be talking about, the subjects and the questions that you have. I'll be glad to look them over, and in the time that I've got, to try to make a good response. I always say, if you have questions about it, if you're concerned about it, probably everybody else is too. So when you write in and you ask your questions, you're probably doing a favor for a lot of people. So don't be afraid to come in and ask, okay? In the meantime, I'll see you next time with another presentation.